Courtney, where I want to start is one of the feelings that listening to your album gave me was kind of a summer feeling. So very simply, how was your summer?
um, well, the summer that I made it in was a very beautiful summer because it was the first time I was able to actually truly experience summer because usually I'm on tour,
Mhm.
uh, playing festivals and that sort of thing. So um, I'd say that, the summers making Loose Future were some of the most summery summers I've had.
Where did you go? Because one thing I found when I did a bit of research as well were these different locations, the Catskill Mountains, I believe, and then no, I forgot the
The Cape.
yeah, that's the one. So what kind of effect does your environment have on the music that you make?
It has a huge effect. Yeah, I mean, I am very absorbent of my environments, and they tend to seep into my lyrics a lot and into the feeling of the music I'm making. I tend to be very reflective of environments. So as far as writing and making music goes, it has a huge effect.
Okay, and when you started on Loose Future, was there a sense of what you wanted to do with the album, or was it just first writing songs and then eventually ended up in kind of what would be an album, or how did kind of the process go?
Well, yeah, I wrote a bunch of songs in 2020 and in the beginning of 21. I was doing song a day and I'd collected maybe like 40 or 50. And by that point, I knew that I was time to make a record. And when we came in, when I came and brought this large sum of songs to Sam, we both sat down with the songs in his studio and pared it down to the ones that we both thought would make the best collection. So um, there was a huge selection process that Sam and I went through in paring down these songs that I brought him.
You say a song a day, so for how long did you do that?
Um, Two separate 30-day chunks.
Okay.
Yeah.
With kind of that intense way of writing and then kind of pouring yourself on these pages, what did you see? What did you discover? And what did you notice about where your mind was at?
Well, I think that I'd always associated song a day with um, not being very creative,
Okay.
uh, because it was something you had to do, every day. And then I actually realized in the process that it's actually amazing for flow state because you have to get a song done. You're actually not overthinking things at all. And it's kind of a beautiful place to be. And so once I realized that, it was very kind of flowy, natural process, in writing those songs. Yeah, I think that one of the biggest obstacles with writing is getting in your own way. And that's been a huge obstacle in the past. If I'm ever over analyzing or being too critical of my own self, oftentimes it kind of halts the creative process. So Song a Day sort of stripped all that away, and I was just like, well, I'm gonna finish a song and it doesn't matter if it's good or not because I have tomorrow too to write a song. um and so it's cool to sort of succumb and relinquish power to that.
After those two periods, then how did you look back on what you've written? Was it kind of what you expected, or did you feel like, okay, there's some real gems that I have now?
Yeah, I mean, I think by the end I probably had 60, and then there was like 15 that just I don't think made a cut at all, just were songs that I felt didn't make the cut. And then, bringing Sam 40 or 50 was like a I thought a lot.
Sure.
And it made me kind of realize and reshifted my thinking on the whole songwriting thing in general. So,
In what way?
just that I think that it you can just get in your own way a lot,
Mm.
and that just allowing the songs to come and flow through you and not getting too worried about if it's, a great song or not is really imperative to like the process.
Did writing your first kind of poetry collection in Old Monarch, did that kind of influence it at your writing in any way? Because I can imagine it's a different form in which you're writing when it's poetry versus music. So did that influence your writing at all?
Yeah, well, I'd finished the book right before I wrote the songs.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it influenced it in terms, the subject matter is very different in my opinion, but like it influenced in terms of getting creative and excited about verses and lines and that sort of thing. It fueled more of what I've already been doing, which is trying to write songs that evoke emotion or feelings or words in a way that kind of reflect people's real honest feelings.
Sure. In that sense, then, do you start writing? Well, I suppose it's different for each song, but do you write lyrics first, or do you come up with the musical landscape? How does that work? Because I can imagine some of the poems you've written, you might be able to put to music as well.
Yeah, a little bit of both. The entries for all the songs have been different. Sometimes I have like a line that I write down like as I'm on a walk or something that ends up turning into a song. Other times it all comes out at once.
Okay.
So it's kind of, sometimes it's a melody, it really all varies.
Okay, let's delve into a couple of songs a little bit deeper then, because well, what I asked you kind of what you noticed about the songs. Is there anything you were in your mind with as you were writing these songs? Because previous album, Old Flowers, was very much I don't know if focus is the right word, but it's there was some breakup in there, and so with this one, was there anything that kind of you wanted to purge in a way?
Yeah, I think it's like, you know, falling in love again with like a hesitance because what can happen. And I think that's why the title of the album is Loose Future, is like when you've been calloused by hurt and by past things, you come in with a little bit different of a mindset. I feel like when you first fall in love, it's for the first time, it's very dewy and um you're kind of blind to what can happen and maybe idealistic in a lot of ways. And not to say that those feelings don't come in with new love after those loves end, but I think like a lot of this album was like me recognizing my patterns, like not turning a blind eye to like the dark and also the truth of hurt and what it can do to us, but also like trying to like break through into a hopeful kind of self-love and also embracing love as well kind of mindset. So
Yeah, because on the song Satellite, that was the approach, right? To kind of write a unadulterated love song. It's just no hesitancy or anything, right? That was kind of the approach.
yeah, I've always, I've have a lot of songs in my catalog, but a lot of them have caveats or but and I was like, I'm ready to welcome in and embrace a love song without buts, but in the context of the record, there is a lot of that still. This
Mm,
but The but is still there. But it's like it's different now, because I'm older and I think I'm maybe a little bit more like road weary, as you might say, and
sure.
of how things go in life.
It's interesting that you mentioned that because I wrote a line down from Let Her Go. Uh, and I think it's she's an old soul and a child all wrapped in one. Is that kind of a description of yourself, or was that somebody you saw?
Um, I think a little bit of both. It's probably something I saw in somebody else that I really resonated with, you
Mm.
know? Um, and so seeing them help myself be seen. in a way.
How much of your writing is kind of processing stuff in your mind, and how much is it of it is it kind of really sitting down and writing things down?
There's really, you know, aside from the line or line or two that comes up during these walks, I'm very rarely like writing out a whole walking, you know. A lot of times it's a line that I know will develop into something that's kind of when I write it down and then take it to the guitar or the piano and flesh it out in a different kind of melodic way. So
what was the starting point for Let Her Go then? Was there a single line that kind of set everything off?
no, that was definitely one of those songs that just happened all at once.
Okay.
That specific one was just for sure a song that kind of flowed out all at once. And Loose Future was one that came from a line.
Okay.
I said the words Loose Future and in a conversation, and it's like, that's got to be a song.
That phrase in itself is very interesting because we as human beings, I think we get a bit anxious if we can't predict the future or we can't kind of control what is happening. So how have you learned to deal with this? Are you very glad that you don't know what's going to happen, or do you still try to control a lot of what's going on?
Oh man, I'm guilty with the best of them. I think I've
Okay.
spent life trying to craft or idealize or have high expectations for the future, and also have very nostalgic, as I say on the record, rose-colored glasses for the past, you know. And I think kind of embracing the unknown and the loose future has been a challenge in itself, and one that I just truly want to try and tackle all the time, you know, of just setting myself up for the fact that anything can happen, you know. And I think when I'm in moments of that, when I'm really truly embracing that, I'm living in a very content now. But it's a battle every day.
Sure, yeah. It's always whenever I hear people talk about this stuff, yeah, it's a continual process. You don't just arrive at some point and now you've got it all figured out in a way. But what you just mentioned, is that then these are the good old days? Is that kind of the feeling of appreciating the moment and kind of noticing that everything is kind of happening now, instead of in your mind you can make it about the future or the past, but everything's happening now?
Yeah, I think that in that song, like the verses are me battling with trying to do that. And then the choruses are like, hey, do that thing where you embrace what's happening now. So like I said, this record has a lot of like me really wanting to be and to understand and live these kind of wiser ways of living, but knowing that I have a lot of hangups, you know, and being aware of that. There's a lot of self-awareness of all my hangups, you know. So
You alluded to kind of the fact that you are quite ambitious, and there are things that you want to kind of accomplish, or you're goal orientated. I don't know if that's the right way to describe it, but how do you see what you want to do in a way? How do you perceive success for yourself?
Success is a funny success is like a snake oil salesman. You know, it's like it can really trick you into thinking it's one thing. And really, I think that specifically in the 20 and 21 years, I kind of realized that the most successful thing you can do is have an honest conversation with the muse, and everything else is kind of out of my control. How the world perceives it, how it is, you know, taken in or understood is really out of my control. The most successful thing I can do is be honest with the muse, whatever that may be at the time, and everything else I cannot control. So I think if I write a poem one day or a song, or make a painting, if it's a pretty successful day. I don't always know that, but trying to get to that space where I feel that success in those little victories of just pure creation is a good space to be in.
Sure. Final song I would like to talk about is the final track on the album, Me and Jerry. I thought that was a really interesting song. First, because do you write on piano as well?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay. What was the starting point of that song? Because I kept wondering who is Jerry, but I don't.
Jerry is could or could not be a real person. No, it's a song about having sex after not having sex for the first time.
Okay. Okay. I didn't hear that in the song.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of people felt that, during those years if you were single, which I was.
Sure.
And it's just about kind of embracing, like, being in touch with, like, our bodies, which we, I feel like in this culture, like the busyness kind of makes us out, like, not be in our bodies a lot. And so
Sure.
it was kind of me experiencing that and wanting to hold on to that as often as possible.
Well, final question then, because you spent a lot of your life, I suppose, on the road, right? You've lived all over in many places, and you've toured with so many people and by yourself as well. And then going from that to being absolutely stuck at home, did that create any, how would you say, like, challenges in terms of your identity? Because I've talked to a lot of musicians who kind of, being a musician is obviously part of who they are, and when that's taken away, they didn't know how to kind of deal with just their everyday lives. Did you encounter anything like that, or were you quite pleased that you had some time to yourself?
I think it was a very imperative time, actually, for me to come to terms with some things. I think that there's a level of escapism in what we do as musicians. Tour is a suspended reality, and you're not facing anything. You can, like, everything can fall by the wayside when you're touring, and it's a suspended reality that doesn't actually make you face some things that you need to face. And so it was a very big time for growth for me. And also kind of acceptance and letting go, and a lot of tricky, hard things to really sit with, to the point, and it happened to the level at which that, like, now that things are busy again, I'm actually finding it really hard to feel grounded, because I'm like, oh, I need actually quite a bit of time to, like, process these things, and you can't process things when you're on the road, like, not at that fast of a rate, so carving out important.
Yeah, I saw you have some shows in the UK and then in the US, and then you're coming back to the UK and Europe in the 2023. So how are you looking forward to that process then, and to kind of find those spaces where you can clear your head a little bit?
Yeah, I think, like, I'm trying to cultivate ways to do that on the road as much as possible, and also be really intentional about my time not on the road, and make sure it's very intentional. I will say, like, all that aside, I think I'll always love touring. I think it's such a big part of who I am, in a way. But I'm also just, like, so excited to play with the band.
Sure.
I play like 10 band shows, maybe 15 band shows in many years. And the idea of playing with other people is very exciting and grounding to me. So yeah, I think shifting my outlook, trying to like not do everything at once is important, for our well-being. So
Sounds good. Courtney, may I thank you for taking the time to talk with me?
Yeah, thanks, Robin.